The movie opens on the symbiote planet named Clintar, where we see an ancient godly being named Knull. When light invaded Knull's world, he got imprisoned on Clintar by his offspring, which are the symbiotes. Knull finds out a codex is being created, which is a key to unlock his prison, so he orders his creations, the xenophages, to search the universe to find the codex and bring it back to him. Knull opens portals for them as the xenophages begin their hunt. Back on Earth, we see Eddie and Venom, who are still in the MCU timeline after the events of Spider-Man: No Way Home. Eddie suddenly gets transported back to his universe, but in the same bar with the same bartender in New Mexico. Venom takes over and decides to make a tequila for them. The bartender is mortified after seeing Venom's tentacles, so he leaves the bar. Eddie now sees the news, which is reporting on Eddie's disappearance after the Battle of San Francisco with Carnage, where Detective Peter Mulligan died. Eddie and Venom realize they can't return to their home in San Francisco, so they need to go to New York to clear Eddie's name because he knows a judge. Eddie heads out of the bar, but a security camera captures him. Meanwhile, a xenophage portal opens behind Eddie. Venom and Eddie hear dogs growling in pain, so they decide to help them. They come across a locked warehouse, so they break in and find dozens of dogs are caged. Eddie realizes the dogs are being used for fights, but on the other hand, the dog owners walk in. They tell Eddie he's in danger because they can't let him leave. Eddie gives them a chance to leave and free the dogs because he knows Venom wants to eat their brains. The thugs don't accept Eddie's proposition, so Venom kicks him, and they all erupt in a fight. Venom takes over and starts fighting all of the thugs while freeing all the locked dogs. Venom rounds up all of the thugs and bites off their heads. Eddie and Venom free all the dogs, but Eddie is missing a shoe, so Venom hands him cowboy shoes of one of the thugs. They leave the warehouse with the dogs. Meanwhile, a xenophage arrives at the scene behind Eddie, but doesn't sense any codex. So she leaves. On the other hand, we see a mysterious man keeping tabs on Eddie. So he calls in General Strickland to bring in Eddie. Strickland is a soldier who runs Area 51 secret operations for the government. He arrives in New Mexico, where we see the bartender finding a piece of venom in his bar, but Strickland detains it. Strickland asks the bartender if he saw Eddie, so the bartender confirms it. Strickland orders his men to take the bartender with them. Now in the Nevada desert, we meet Dr. Teddy Payne, a scientist sleeping in her room. Teddy dreams of hanging with her late brother at the beach. They talk about stars as a cluster of thundering clouds approaches them. The siblings start running from the storm, but they both get struck by lightning, which only kills Teddy's brother. She wakes up and gets notified of Mulligan's transfer to her lab. A helicopter lands at her site as soldiers bring in Detective Mulligan, who's on life support. In the morning, Teddy drives to the site, which is the Area 51 military base. We see General Strickland arriving at the site and initiating a massive acid tank to decompose junk. Teddy now drives into her secret lab, which is an Area 55 Imperium program. She meets with Strickland and asks about Mulligan. We also meet Teddy's lab partner, Sadie Christmas. Teddy is the head of the lab, and they have captured dozens of symbiotes. They transferred one into Mulligan as well, which helps him survive. A soldier hands Sadie a piece of venom that they captured in New Mexico, which she adds to her collection. As Strickland takes Teddy to see Mulligan, she expresses that her brother wanted to work in a place like this, experimenting with aliens. Mulligan finds trouble coping with a symbiote inside him as Sadie guides him through. Teddy and Strickland wear biohazard suits so Mulligan or the symbiote doesn't get infected with anything. Teddy approaches Mulligan and asks why the symbiotes came to Earth. Mulligan reveals they came searching for a safe haven because they were running from their creator. Teddy and Strickland ask why they were running, so Mulligan reveals their creator wants to kill all of them, so he sent his creatures after the symbiotes. Mulligan then sees a vision of the future where Knull gets freed from his prison and begins his dark war against the universe. Mulligan's symbiote takes over and says, "The darkness has teeth." Meanwhile, we see Eddie and Venom hanging outside of a plane headed to New York. Venom takes over Eddie, and the xenophage detects their codex and quickly launches herself toward the plane. Eddie and Venom get petrified when they see the giant beast running towards them. Venom tries to defend himself, but the xenophage gets pulled into the plane jet and gets shredded into pieces. Venom reveals he has to hide, so Eddie gets blasted off from the plane. Venom acts as a parachute to land safely. Meanwhile, we see a family of 4 driving in their van. They are headed to Area 51 to fulfill their lifelong dream of witnessing the existence of aliens. Suddenly, pieces of the xenophage drop on the road, which start reconnecting, and the xenophage lives again. Eddie and Venom land on the ground, and Venom reveals the creature was a xenophage, which is a symbiote hunter. Venom tells Eddie about Knull and how the symbiotes betrayed him and imprisoned him for eternity, and the only way to free him is through the codex, which they carry. Eddie asks what the codex is, so Venom shows him that when a symbiote brings back its dead host to life, their life forces become a single force called a codex. The codex can free Knull, and Eddie and Venom carry one because Eddie died during their battle with Carlton Drake, and Venom brought him back. Venom reveals the xenophage can only see the codex when a symbiote is in its true form, so Venom can't fully transform for now. Venom reveals if any one of them died, the codex will be destroyed. They decide to lay low and come across a horse. Venom bonds with the horse, and Eddie rides him as they head to New York. Back in the Area 51 lab, Mulligan is calm for now, but Strickland isn't convinced with Mulligan's safe haven mission. He believes they have an ulterior motive, but Teddy disagrees. We also see the rest of the symbiotes that are in Teddy's custody. Strickland thinks Teddy is dangerous because she's convinced the symbiotes are here for altruistic reasons. Strickland then gets informed about Eddie's little stunt on the New York Airbus, so he orders to capture Eddie. Venom and Eddie stop near a stream as they get jumped by Strickland's soldiers. Eddie and Venom jump into the stream to escape, but the soldiers follow them into the water and attack Eddie. One of Strickland's soldiers aims her gun at Eddie, but Eddie shoots her. Venom latches onto different animals to escape, and then latches onto Eddie to save him. The xenophage gets alerted and quickly makes her way to Venom. She attacks Venom, but Venom transforms back and escapes as Strickland's soldiers shoot at the xenophage. The xenophage swallows the soldiers like a wood chipper and runs away since she can't trace the codex. Strickland is petrified, so he contacts Teddy and tells her Mulligan was right and he lost all of his crew. Eddie is panicking now because he mistakenly shot someone. Eddie's also worried because not only the cops are after him, but the American army and a monstrous creature are also after him. They continue their journey. Meanwhile, back in Teddy's lab, we see Mulligan's symbiote, Toxin, transform into his real form. Teddy is mesmerized by Toxin's form and asks why the xenophage attacked them. Toxin reveals Knull needs Venom because he has the codex. Strickland arrives at the facility and is angered at the symbiote aliens. Toxin reveals there's no way to defeat Knull since he's older than the universe. Strickland asks how they can stop Knull from getting the codex, so Toxin reveals they need to kill Venom or his host. Despite Teddy's disagreement, Strickland is game to eliminate Eddie and Venom. Eddie now runs into the Moon's family, the one that was headed to Area 51. The father, Martin, welcomes Eddie to join them for lunch and introduces Eddie to his wife Nova and their children, Echo and Leaf. Eddie reveals he's heading to New York, so the Moons offer him a ride till Vegas. They reveal they are headed to Area 51 to spot any aliens. Martin thinks Eddie doesn't believe in aliens, but Eddie tells him he genuinely believes in aliens and wishes the Moons see good aliens since his experience with aliens hasn't been very great. The family hits the road again, with Eddie this time. On the road, the family sings David Bowie's Space Oddity and requests Eddie to sing along with them. Eddie is embarrassed and doesn't sing. In the evening, Martin's son Leaf offers Eddie a chocolate. Leaf confesses he is scared and doesn't want to see aliens. So Eddie assures him there is no such thing as aliens. Eddie sees a poster in the car, so Martin explains the concept of it, which is called Near Rika. Martin explains there's a doorway in our minds that usually remains hidden until the time of death. They arrive in Vegas, and Martin drops off Eddie, where a CCTV camera captures Eddie. Martin hands Eddie some money and offers him his sandals. Eddie thanks him and bids him farewell. Eddie sees a woman dressed as the Statue of Liberty and tells Venom he will take him to New York to see Lady Liberty. Venom is excited to see New York, but they only have $20, so Venom suggests going to a casino and winning money. The guard doesn't let Eddie enter the hotel because he isn't dressed formally according to the hotel's theme. Venom headbutts the guy and knocks him out. Eddie notices a man in a suit peeing, so he approaches him. The man is drunk, so he pees on Eddie's feet. So Venom slaps him and knocks him out too. Eddie quickly steals his suit and heads to the casino and points the cops in the drunk man's direction. framing him for Venom's actions. Eddie enters the casino looking fly. Venom gets excited and spends all of their money on a slot machine and doesn't win any money. Venom lashes out and kicks the machine, breaking Eddie's foot. Much to his surprise, Eddie sees Mrs. Chen gambling in the casino. Eddie greets her and is relieved to see her. Mrs. Chen reveals she's winning big time, so the hotel offered her a suite. She offers Eddie to head back to her suite and party. Back in the symbiote lab, Strickland's soldier informs him that they identified Eddie in Vegas, so Strickland orders them to form a new team and head to Vegas to kill Eddie. Strickland contacts the mysterious man from the beginning and requests control of the Imperium program. The man grants him the access. Meanwhile, we see the Xenophage has made her way to Las Vegas too. Eddie is now in Mrs. Chen's penthouse suite where she forces him to dance. Eddie disagrees, knowing the Xenophage will find them. But Venom doesn't care and wants to dance because Eddie never lets him. Venom transforms for the dance, and the Xenophage tracks him down. Venom dances with Mrs. Chen as the Xenophage reaches Vegas in minutes and tracks down Eddie. The Xenophage breaks into the suite, but Venom transforms back so she can't see him. The Xenophage runs away, but Strickland and his team arrive. They hit Eddie with a sonic gun and separate him from Venom. They capture Venom and tase Eddie to take them with them. They fly away as the Xenophage chases after them and enters their facility sneakily. The Moon's family finally reaches Area 51 and breaks in. Teddy notices Venom is deteriorating without Eddie, so she orders Sadie to lock Venom with the rest of the symbiotes. The Moon's family climbs a watchtower and decides to witness the aliens from there. Back in the lab, Eddie wakes up and finds out Mulligan is still alive. Mulligan reveals a symbiote saved him and turns into Toxin. Toxin warns Eddie about Knull and protecting the codex. He informs Eddie that there's an army of symbiotes here, so he needs to free them. Teddy and Sadie arrive to check up on Eddie and reveal Venom is safe. Strickland intervenes since he has full control of the program, so he reveals he is getting rid of Eddie. He dismisses Sadie and Teddy and shoots Eddie. Luckily, Sadie had stolen Venom and transforms into Venom. She transfers Venom into Eddie, saving him from dying. But the Xenophage barges into the lab. The scientists run away as the soldiers shoot the Xenophage. Toxin breaks from his pod and attacks the Xenophage, giving Eddie an opportunity to escape. The Xenophage quickly swallows Toxin as Venom runs away. Venom tells Sadie to free all the symbiotes. Venom transforms back while the symbiotes start latching onto people to fight the Xenophage. Sadie also joins forces with a symbiote and tells Eddie to leave. Venom steals Sadie's shoes and breaks free with the rest of the symbiotes. The Moon's family finally witnesses aliens, and they are not happy to see them. Everyone is escaping from the lab as Teddy steals a symbiote for herself. The Xenophage also breaks free, so the symbiotes fight back again. Strickland evacuates his team while Eddie runs away. Martin calls Eddie for help, so Eddie heads up to rescue them. He introduces them to Venom, and Venom thanks Lee for the chocolate. Strickland joins the fight and hits the Xenophage with a rocket launcher and blows all of them. The explosion causes the watchtower to fall as some of the symbiotes die. Eddie and the family fall, so the remaining symbiotes rescue them. Sadie gets angry at Strickland for killing the symbiotes because they were protecting him. To everyone's shock, the Xenophage starts regenerating again, but Teddy drives through the Xenophage to rescue the Moons. The Xenophage sends a signal to Knull, who sends more Xenophages to Earth. Another Xenophage arrives from a portal, so Sadie attacks it. Eddie decides to distract them and tells Strickland to send the helicopters after him because he will round up the Xenophages. Venom transforms and gets chased by the Xenophages as Strickland's men fire at them. Sadie joins again to slow down the undying monsters. Meanwhile, Teddy drops the family back to their van. Venom transforms back so the beasts attack the helicopters. One of the soldiers gets his legs eaten by the Xenophage, but Strickland manages to save him. Strickland gets stabbed in the process, so Eddie works with Sadie. He uses the chopper blades to cut off the monster's head while Sadie rescues Strickland. Eddie gets attacked by the second Xenophage, but Martin blasts its head off. More portals open as we see more Xenophages arriving. Venom hides Eddie in the helicopter, but Eddie is fatally wounded. They realize they have no other option but to sacrifice themselves. Venom heals Eddie as they head out to face the Xenophages. Venom starts absorbing them into him and heads to the acid disposal area. Venom ejects Eddie as Strickland initiates the acid. Venom tells Eddie not to forget him as he starts melting and dying. Venom covers Eddie with a door as Strickland launches a grenade, causing the facility to blow. Teddy morphs with her symbiote and rescues Sadie from the explosion while we see Knull realizing he failed. Sadie and Teddy survive, and after some time we see Eddie waking up in a hospital next to a general. The general tells him all charges against him have been dropped because of his heroic display at Area 51. He tells Eddie if he mentions the Area 51 incident to anyone, then they will lock him up. After some time, Eddie is on the street, reminiscing about his time with Venom. He heads to New York for a new beginning and vows not to forget Venom. In a mid-credits scene, we see Knull declaring war on the universe because the King in Black is awake. The movie ends here. I am sure you liked the story recap. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps like that. Thanks.